Hi everybody, I just want to start by saying I actually am a very nice guy, really likeable guy in real life. But probably halfway through this presentation, most of you are going to not like me at all. So please, I'll get on a plane tomorrow and fly 14 hours back home, and you won't see me again. But I just want to, I've been asked to give a presentation on this issue as it's affected our New Zealand market. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll take all the emotion out of it. I don't have any crux to bear with State Farm, PartsTrader, and else. Everyone has a business to run, right? The fact is they're affecting some of our businesses, but that's something we have to work through. So if we think about New Zealand, we probably have to think just where New Zealand is, because I bet half of you don't even know. Don't get the point there? That's too big a point to you, cover the whole country. So here we are stuck here at the bottom of the South Pacific, right? We're off Australia, some 1,200 miles away, and I'll spend some time, different time, on the east coast of your great country, and a lot of those people think we've got a bridge across from Australia to New Zealand. I can assure you, there's no bridge across there, right?
We would want it if it was.
Yeah. So as we think about the difference in the markets, just bear that in mind, because our market is very, very different to yours, and I have to spend some time explaining a bit about our country and our market. I don't want to give you a geography lesson, I don't want to give you a history lesson, but it's important that you understand exactly the differences so you can make your own decisions going forward. So here we are, New Zealand. There's 4.35 million of us living down there. We're the same size as England, as Britain, and they have, I think, 68 million people. So there's not a lot of us. In the South Island of New Zealand, that's the biggest island, there's only 600,000 people living. So you can imagine the demographics are quite different. I think we're about the same physical size as Colorado, and they've got 1 million more people than us. I don't think any of you ever think that Colorado is a crowded place. That's the standard Jack Peninsula. Believe it or not, there's actually 3.8 million licensed vehicles in our country. About 2.7 million cars. But that many people. So there's a lot of cars and vehicles around there for not so many people. But when you say spread out, there is very little public transport, really. Average age of our vehicle fleet is 13.5 years. And interestingly enough, the US has blown out just recently to 10.8 years. I found that quite extraordinary, really, but that's the reports that we're getting. We import into New Zealand approximately 200,000 cars a year. We have no manufacturing facilities down here. Of course, a country that size, you go back and grow really, really fast. A couple of guys have tried to build limited model cars, but can't do it. 2/3 of those cars are used imports from Japan, and this is absolutely the difference in our market. Absolutely the difference. If you imagine, 2/3 of the cars are coming in, and they'll be 3 to 7 years old, those cars, when they hit our shores. So we talk about the parts industry prior to PartsTrader, and I know we're not just singling PartsTrader, but PartsTraders in New Zealand, and so I have to talk about prior to PartsTrader. Around 65% of repairers' parts purchases were second-hand. I mean, you call them LKQ or something, and recycle, and all sorts of terms, but you know, they use parts like second-hand. There's huge fluctuation prior to PartsTrader and new parts, OEM parts. A lot of cases came back to us where a repairer would submit a price, and insurer would bring that same dealership, often talk to the same parts guy, and would get a drastically reduced parts price. I'm talking hundreds of dollars difference on a single part. So that was the environment prior to PartsTrader. All parts, the general deal we got was 20% discount off retail, right? That was the accepted margin. And then repairers obviously had their own discount structure with suppliers, depending on their efficiencies and just how they operated, how easy they were to deal with. So then, these used imports were never sold new in New Zealand, so there were no parts. No dealerships had any parts for them. And you realise that we have a Toyota Corolla in New Zealand, I don't know if you have it here, I don't think it's sitting around, but that's sold in a lot of different countries around the world. It's a very different car in every different country. It might look the same, but it will be different steels and all that sort of stuff, right? So it's quite important to use the same stuff. Second-hand parts industry was very, very lucrative in those days, and you'll see why shortly. Virtually no aftermarket parts in New Zealand. I find it quite interesting in the States that you have reasonable proportion of aftermarket parts. They tried them on us in the late 90s, early 2000s, and because of quality issues, we managed to get them out of the country. But of course our second-hand parts industry was so strong, so we could do that. Without the second-hand parts industry, it wouldn't be successful. No offence to aftermarket part people here, I'm sure your product's really great, but we had some real issues with them. So when you have second-hand parts industry, your relationship with suppliers is very, very important, because second-hand part is just that. And it's never fit for purpose. It requires some rectification 90% of the time. So that was very, very important. And the importers would actually, if you imagine then you have an industry like this, you've got people bringing truckloads of stuff into the country. Like front cuts, just a whole front section of cars. Hundreds of them come into the country. You go to a repair shop, complete, stripped down, rebuilt. That was the way the industry was. The importers, the recyclers would tell me they'd dump approximately 30% of their stock. Because they had to take a certain amount out of Japan, and what they didn't want, so they would just dump. Along came PartsTrader. It was established in New Zealand in 2005. As an industry, we got about 2 months warning. Right? It was just about a done deal. It was done by a company called IAG, God bless Australia, Australian company, and they had bought 2 of our insurance companies. One, State Insurance, interesting name, State Insurance, which was absolutely insuring the bottom end of the market, and they had once had 60% market share. They were down to about 20% in a lot of trouble, because they were just, and they had all the rubbish repairers doing their work. My business hadn't done any work for these people, for this company, for probably 15 years, and when I cut them, they were 30% of my business, but that's how bad they were. The other company that they bought was NZI, which was the premium model. So the premium model had all the good repairers, but they had all the good guys, all the quality shops, and they tried to mesh these two together. They employed one youngish guy to do it. A lot of people are young to me, of course, but the guy in his late 30s, I suppose, and he set about getting this and getting the industry on side. So they had built up a pretty good rapport by the time this happened in 2002. I think by the time 2005 came along, they were the good guys. Right? So one insurance company and under a 3-year contract. So that's where PartsTrader sprang from. All parts were priced and supplied through PartsTrader. You had no option with this insurance company. You had to buy every part through PartsTrader. So if you had almost finished your repair but needed one little part to finish up, you still had to go through PartsTrader. So there are a lot of inefficiencies there. In all of this, I have to say that PartsTrader itself, as a tool, was never the issue. As a tool, the tool worked very, very well. It was the results of the procurement program. So we talk about parts margins. Not only did we get from this insurance company the demand that we use this tool, but we were told that you'll get a 20% markup in cost of second-hand parts. So there was a 5% margin disappeared straight away, and a 10% markup on cost, a new OEM, 15% discount. But in return, they gave us a $3 an hour labour increase, which was the first one in, I think, 3 years, and was still miles, of course, behind the 8 ball. So that's how it all was. Previously, of course, I said we had a 25% markup on cost. So what happened when PartsTrader launched in New Zealand by IAG Insurance? Prices dropped almost immediately, right? Can't really remember, to be honest, but within a month, prices were falling through the floor. Second-hand in the first year fell by, I'd put it at 40%. But you can, I mean, the easiest thing for anyone that's interested in this is just go online, look up a New Zealand repairer and ring them up. Just have a chat to them, you know. He'll tell you. A lot of people say it's fallen by 50% apart. So not only did we lose margin on that part, but we lost a lot of money, a lot of income off the cost of the part. New OEM, 15%, a lot of people argue 20% it fell by. And of course the quality of second-hand parts became a huge issue. Now this price of parts is a hard one, because you can't really go out on the street, marching on the street saying, we don't want to use this because it's going to reduce the cost of parts. Argument doesn't wash. But our whole remuneration structure for our industry has been destroyed over the years, last 20 years. In one way or another, it's been chipped away at, and this is like the last bastion. And I'm not sure in our country the bottom line, the purest bottom line, was often less than their parts margins. So the parts margins always supported their labour rate. And I would be surprised if it's not the same case over here. Certainly to our industry down there that tied up our act as far as estimates. So, second-hand parts, and this is again a very, very different fuel market, second-hand parts was a huge issue. And quality of parts was just a nightmare. And the insurance company just kept like that, didn't want to borrow it. PartsTrader, to be fair, got involved and tried to sort something out. But the problem was, of course, as everyone said, the supplier relationship all but disappeared. My own company, we'd have one guy who source all of our parts. He'd be in my shops usually twice a day, and he'd go and source everything that I needed, right? At very competitive prices. Next minute we were dealing with, as David said, 300 odd suppliers. That's 300 new credit checks and all that sort of stuff. You go through, there's a whole lot of hassles that are just unbelievable. But there was a reduction in the number of total losses, to be fair. So we've got to look at both sides of it. There was a reduction in the number of total losses. But of course you're getting less oil because your parts margins have been destroyed. So when PartsTrader first started, suppliers absolutely dumped all that stock they previously dumped through PartsTrader, right? You know, the number of suppliers, and a lot of the suppliers, even though they weren't supposed to, will now source a lot of stock. So you imagine that these guys all of a sudden are doing all these quotes online. They don't really know what they've got. So they just submit a price for everything and then would try and find it, right? Now I know, to be fair, PartsTrader's done a lot of work in trying to sort that out, and right now in New Zealand, they're really going through their supply network. Quality control is almost non-existent. So we think about, just to give you an idea of the impact in New Zealand. This is my own business, and this was back in 2006. Right, our sales were 4 million. Our parts were 36% of that 4 million, 1.44 million we spent a year on parts. Right? So not only that, but we had additional administration time. We don't have the Mitchells and CCCs or whatever you have over here. So it took a while to load up. One of our main software estimating package over there did link with PartsTrader eventually, but there was a lot of time during they spent loading PartsTrader, new credit application, chasing rectification credits, which was huge. And it wasn't unusual for our estimators or our production managers to spend over an hour on one part trying to get a rectification. It might only be $45. So most guys just didn't bother, right? And if you don't bother, the situation just compounds. So we bothered. Interruptions to workflow, cycle times blew out. Cycle times not be thought of by the insurance industry in New Zealand. Cycle time for me was very important because that's where the money is. And I built a purpose-built shop specifically to try to work through in 2003. It was my sort of dream. And I built this thing, and of course, unfortunately, this procurement program really impacted on the viability of my business. And we don't get insurance in New Zealand very rarely pay for higher costs. We run courtesy car fleet, and so every day that thing's out, Mr. Avery saying the same thing, was a cost to us. Okay, so the situation in New Zealand now, after several years of PartsTrader Advisory Group, PAG was formed, and I know that that's already here in America, and I have to say I had one guy interviewed live or something, one of the chap you mentioned. Yeah, he's part of that group, and it seems a bit unfortunate that people are a bit reluctant to say they're part of that group, because if you don't, whether you want it or not, if you have a chance to try and steer it, you should have someone in there trying to steer it, in my opinion. Right? So we got the insurance company out of the room, just got the suppliers and the peers together, and we made a lot of differences. After the 3-year period, PartsTrader is now mandated by the majority of insurers. One of our big insurers didn't mandate PartsTrader. You didn't have to use PartsTrader. But ING, the insurance company that started PartsTrader, bought that insurance company just this year.
How much?
That's 61% share of the market. Yeah. 61% of the market they've got. And that's not, we have antitrust laws in New Zealand, we have a Commerce Commission. I've been interviewed by, I had the triple tape interview by two two suits sitting opposite me, hammering me, having to tell untruths without too many stutters, with 3 microphones running. That's how hard they go at you over there. But, 61% not seemed like a majority. I was on in their country. So now, PartsTrader, with the agreement with IAG, received a fee. So we didn't really know, and I know this is something that's bandied around by a lot of you people, who pays. So there was no, we weren't involved in any fee at all. But now with the new insurers on board, there is a success fee, 3.5%, which comes off your 10%, because most insurers won't pay a margin on that 3.5%. So there's a further impact on you. And there's a lot of freight, because the South Island is not unusual for $300 freight bill to be part of your parts order. No margin on that either. So guys are really getting hammered in a lot of ways. And that's not a parts strategy, that's the insurance issue. And that really is my bugbear, that they're quite happy to take all this stuff away and give nothing back. The rating system was introduced in 2011, and I think the rating system has been talked about. If it's introduced in New Zealand, I think as part, US, as part of the system. It's serving some purpose, but it's now being abused by some suppliers, because what's just happened in the last ag meeting I had, that some really, really good repairers have got a rating of 1 out of a possible 5, and they're getting marked down because they're going back for rectifications. Still paying the bills on time, still ordering correctly, but going back for rectifications, and of course nobody does do it, so they're getting marked down. And there's work to be done on that, and to be fair and absolutely honest and transparent, PartsTrader really aggressively trying to sort that out in our country. So there's still some improvements still needed for repairers, and I'm happy to show you a slide now that I conducted an online survey for my magazine in late 2011, because I really wanted to grill IAG Insurance and all the other insurers about the unfairness of the whole system. And unfortunately, I didn't get the results that I wanted. Because 53% of repairers felt PartsTrader had positive effect on their business. Now, they'd lost all this money. And I tried to find these people. I can't find them. David can't. You can't find them. You can't find them. But what it is, it's what John alluded to, that because of the way our country's laid out, if you're a rural repairer miles away from anywhere, this is a jolly good program for them. And they are not tied down by contracts with insurers, so they have a much freer reign in so many different ways. That's the only answer I can give it to you, because I just tell you, it doesn't cost much for in New Zealand, we've got phones and everything down there, that will work. So just give us a ring, give any repairer down there a ring and have a talk to them, see what they say. But that's in the public domain now, put there by me. 48% of suppliers felt that PartsTrader had a positive effect on their business. But if you're a sloppy repairer or a sloppy supplier, an online procurement system is actually really, really good for you, because you've had lousy relationships with everybody. All of a sudden you're getting the same relationship as the good guy. And that's what's happened with some of our pretty lousy suppliers, really bought into this big time and poured stuff through the market. Now, I'd say 90% of what I've talked about up till now is not going to affect your market, right? Because it's unique to our crazy recycled parts industry. No difference there. So what should we have done? Because I was involved in this, and what we did is we tried to stop PartsTrader, right? And I hear everybody talking around here that, we're not going to do this, suppliers just not going to agree, repairers not going to do it, and I know that 17 guys handed their DRP badges back a while ago, and all that's really, really admirable, but when you've got an oversupply in the marketplace, it just doesn't work, because it's always someone with a hand up, no matter how lousy the contract is. What we should have done in New Zealand, I believe, is we should have negotiated hard for fairer labour rates. We should have taken that opportunity to actually rebuild the whole model of the way that we're paid. Because I asked a question about what rates State Farm pay in America, and there's a huge spread of rates. And they say, well, because some areas are more expensive than others. If you do the maths on that, makes no sense at all. It's just what they can get away with. And you can blame away in the insurance company doing the same thing. You know, if you get 3 prices from a plumber, you go for the cheapest one, and you're going to get the right job, right? Yeah. Unless that plumber's a woman, might be a bit different. We should have tried to set delivery standards for suppliers. We should have really worked hard to make sure that any supplier that came on knew the rules, right? Because in New Zealand it was done, it was a done deal, and we fought. We should have demanded increased parts margins, because you can see the savings they made. It cost me 120k, it cost a whole lot of other shops 100k and more. The truckload of money that insurance company saved, we should have negotiated to get some of it back, especially on the second-hand car. In other words, negotiated for a share of the advantage. If there are huge advantages to be had, then let's rebuild the model, you know, because it's not, quite frankly, the way that our business works worldwide. I mean, Britain is a great Britain, of course, don't you? Britain is, I think, the most mature market in the world. But their margins, and Mike, if he's here, he'll tell you, really, 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 really low. But, you know, the pension's coming in the other way, because they might have 3,000 repairers by the end of next year. Last year, they couldn't get all the cars repaired, because they had a lousy winter. So that's what's got to happen to get the pension back. PartsTrader USA. Okay, this is all supposition. I have seen the model. I've seen the model as it was about 3 weeks ago for the US market. It is very different to our model. Our insurers can see every price bid. Your insurer can't at this stage. Your vehicle fleet and market code, that's so different to ours. The parts industry is very different. My thoughts on its impact on your market. Parts prices will drop significantly. I'm absolutely sure of that. If this kicks off, and all the trials haven't seen it, but you may see in Chicago, where I think it's going to be 500, trial of 500 shops. You may see a bit of action there. Use of aftermarket second-hand parts or resold parts will, I think, increase. Because all of a sudden, they're all bidding on the same platform. I call them the bottom feeders, not very nice, is it? The bottom feeders will become more dominant. In other words, what I call the shonky suppliers get a huge advantage out of any parts procurement program. In the short term, anyway, for us all to do. But they will become more dominant. Repairers' parts margins will reduce over time, and if you have a agreed margin with a supplier now, I know you can put that supplier, you can only have that supplier, I'm told, as your preferred supplier on that platform. So he's bidding against all the other markets. And he will have to drop his prices. And when he drops his prices, the first person that's going to be hit is the repairer. Your margins have to reduce. And your relationships will diminish, obviously, because you need a lot more people. And I question, is the 1 hour quote time achievable? I know they're actually talking about 30-minute quote time. Now, I don't know, and I know you're very sophisticated in all of your systems, but it seems to me that if you've got 2,000 or 3,000 repairers in your target area, and they're all bombarding all these people for quotes, I can't see how the system can handle it. But that remains to be seen. If it is, it's admirable. We have 4 hours, often defaults to 24 hours. In New Zealand, this insurance company can also escalate. If they're not happy with what they've got so far, they can escalate nationwide. But it has changed in New Zealand. Most good repairers now do not deal with the lowest price all the time. They will pick these suppliers and generally get away with it. And I'm sorry, Mr. Avery, but I can't see how your cycle times won't get affected. I just cannot see how it can be. And I know PartsTrader will be a very, very efficient platform. Right? It'll be as good as anything, I think, that anyone will see. Because it's had 7 years experimenting on us, 4 bunnies down there. But it will be very, very good. But you know, the whole system of parts and not having good, favourable relationships must have them. Will State Farm succeed? That's the question. I'm not brave enough to put anything out there. But, you know, you have to think, do they need their 10,300 repairers? Do they only need 7,000 repairers? I don't know. That's up to you guys. And the suppliers, because if the repairers don't sign up for it, or the suppliers don't sign up for it, parts procurement programs don't work. But, you know, we're all in business and there's not that much work around. So, well, I sit down and thank you. That's me done. I hope